Grateful I am to Tyler Perry. He is probably one of the most brilliant young entrepreneurs that we have. Why do I admire him? I have never seen his portrayal of Medea as a man cross-dressing. I saw his wonderful portrayal of Medea as bringing to the forefront the strongest person in the history of our sojourn in America, and that is Medea. That strong black woman who was the cornerstone of her family. She always was that figure that gave guidance, correction, reprimand, discipline. And Tyler Perry brought her to the screen in funny ways. But what I was seeing was the greatness of the strong black woman who saw us through from yesterday to today.
Peace, healing, and light, family, and welcome back to, honestly, a bonus episode of Healing with Angelica's podcast, where we discuss all things healing. And if you are new to the show, welcome, beautiful souls. So before we get started, okay, this is going to be a nice dialogue. I'm looking forward to this, right? But before we get started, on today's powerful episode, please be sure to share, like, follow, and subscribe so you won't miss out on any upcoming episodes on any of your favorite podcast station. Closing the Gap broadcast on YouTube, Knowledge for Life on YouTube, and Healing with Angelica on Facebook and YouTube to make sure that you catch up on all of the new episodes that we have. Also, be sure to definitely check out our Healing Journey program. If you are ready to heal and don't know where to start, Healing with Angelica is here to assist. Get started on your one-on-one healing journey today and book your call by texting the word HEAL to 937-313-2466. Also, next month, July 1st, we have our, I think this will be our 4th healing circle. We have our healing circle that we do every month now on the first of every month at 6 p.m. Eastern. So definitely be sure to join our healing circle. So if you like to join, please text the word circle to 937-313-2466. So on today's episode, I got a whole powerhouse with me today, okay? Listen, I got my brother King Cam, sister Ebony X, brother Coach King. If you don't know him, that's my brother Zion down there at the bottom. Of course, me, sister Angelica, and we also have our beautiful sister Ebony Somone. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. So listen, audience, this is something different. I haven't done this. I'm sticking to my one little interviews, right? But I wanted to do something different because this movie Straw, right? It's a hot topic. It's still a conversation being had today, right? And I wanted us to get into a dialogue discussion on the movie because for me, it wasn't just a movie. I really seen a lot of things that really portray just what we are going through as Black women and just us as Black people in general. So definitely, if you are wanting to hop in on this discussion, please let us know in the comment section below. I do have a link at the bottom when you are interested, or if you are interested to join the conversation, you're more than welcome to join the conversation. There's a link to hop on the live and share your input on the movie Straw, right? So I started off by, of course, you guys see my intro. However, I wanted to play a clip by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, him making great emphasis of the how talented and creative Tyler Perry is, and even just looking at all of the movies he has done and how creative he was in actually putting in the forefront just the actual reality of us as Black people, what we actually go through. So I really want to just kind of start the conversation off with just first and foremost, let's just ask, we can go around and just ask each other, like, what was you guys' input on the movie? And then we can kind of elaborate from there. So anyone want to get started? Or should I? Nah, let's go.
You should.
Oh, I should? Oh, don't worry. Okay. All right. So first and foremost, I kind of was hesitant to watch the movie only because kind of thought it would be kind of like this same old type of skit movie. You know what I'm saying? The same type of content of movie. However, I watched it and I can honestly say that I don't watch movies. I'm gonna be honest with you. I barely watch TV. So when I watched that movie, it took everything in me not to cry like a baby. But I did. And it was more so because of me feeling her pain. I was able to relate to the main character, Janae, in so many different ways. And within that, it also made me understand that you have people that didn't understand the movie. And some may have their negative perspectives of the movie, but I truly believe that you have to have a understanding of the condition of our people to understand that movie enough to have the feelings I had, which made me cry. Um, so I enjoyed the movie. I actually went back and watched it again today just to make sure I got everything I needed out of the movie to ask my questions and us dialoguing about it. And I think the last part kind of took me not really understanding what really happened as far as did her daughter die or was she already dead, things in that matter. So I kind of think I got to understand that after I watched it the second time. But I believe Tyler Perry did an amazing job on the movie. And I love his emphasis on bringing out the reality of what's really going on with us as Black women and just what's going on in the Black community. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with you. Where my mind goes is, why is the movie itself so controversial? Like, why aren't people just leaving it as a movie and being on screen? So many people watch the movie and, are sharing their take on it. So I think that's the first thing where my mind goes is, why is it even a big topic to talk about? You know what I mean? And when I start thinking along those lines, it goes to what you're saying. It's the understanding of the condition of our people. And I think the relatability, whether you're a black woman or not, I think being black and involved in the struggle, or just struggling, period, the struggle, period, you can relate to what's going on in the movie, because it's about somebody who's trying to make the best of their situation. They're doing all that they can, and they break the straw gets broken. You know what I mean? So anybody can relate to that, and I think that's what's causing so much talk around the movie. Me personally, I don't like Tyler Perry movies. He's a great, he's a great person, filmmaker. But just personally, like movies with him as Medea, I don't, like to watch them. But the other movies I do. But I just heard so much talk about this movie on social media, which caused me to go watch it. And I'm kind of like in the middle. I don't like it, but I don't not like it. You know what I mean? It's definitely a lot of takeaways and lessons that you can gain from it. But for me, I think it was good acting for sure, but I felt like it was rushed. Like it got straight to the point. There was no build up, and it was just at the climax the whole movie, and then it ended. So that's my take on it.
Coach Cam,
Oh,
not Coach Cam. I call you Coach Cam. Coach King. Well, Coach Cam too. Brother King Cam.
yes, ma'am. So first I want to just say thank you for having us, allowing me to be on your platform to have the opportunity to speak. In reference to and about this particular movie, I did a review of it myself when it first came out, and I first watched it. I actually watched it twice. um so I could get the best understanding of it. And initially, like you mentioned, it's like like King mentioned and like you mentioned, we wasn't gonna watch it. I wasn't gonna watch it, but then I said, "Nah, let me go ahead and watch it." So but I definitely want to thank you for the opportunity, and also to share the stage with some powerful individuals. So when I did my review on Straw, I had some takeaways. And as it pertains to Tyler Perry, I love how the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan always sees the good in our people. He looks past, the negative. He looks past the dirt, to get to the good part of all people. And it's just easy for a lot of us to bash celebrities, especially with YouTube and this Illuminati and all of this type of stuff, where people get led down these different rabbit holes, and it's just easy to take black entertainers, black celebrities, black ball players, and have something negative to say about the things that they doing. So I like how the minister always is on the opposite side of what our people, the majority of our people, are gonna say. Because one of the things that I took away from just the backlash that Tyler Perry was receiving, and this pertains to Straw as well as his other movies,
Hmm.
was you have to understand Tyler Perry's thinking and his background. I actually watched Tyler Perry's documentary. I believe it's called not Dear Mama, uh something. I can't think of the name of the documentary right now, but um it's about his life,
Hmm.
and it highlights his growing up, with his mother, highlights the struggles that she had, and highlights how Tyler was abused, and he spent a lot of time with black women,
Mm.
and that was kind of his safe place. And he learned a lot from being around black women because he was around his aunts and his grandmother and his mom, and he listened to their conversations, and he saw the things that they went through, and sort of, he was there as they were going through certain things in their life. So when you watch the Tyler Perry movie and you look at the black woman perspective that he puts out the black woman perspective that he saw growing up, which is a reality, whether we like it or not,
Mm.
which is a reality in our community. So that's one thing. Now, when it comes to the movie Straw, I believe the main character name is Janiyah, and I said that Sister Janiyah not only represented black women, but she also represented black people,
Mm.
because Sister Janiyah wasn't just a black woman going through the struggle, but black people go through that struggle. And if we look back at our 400 plus years of sojourn here in America, then all of us or people that we know have gone under similar circumstances, if not identical circumstances, whether it comes to battling the criminal justice system and trying to find a good job, whether it's dealing with social services and being able to have money to pay for your rent and food stamps, and just trying to get by, and then dealing with just dealing with different things in your life. Janiyah represented more than just a black woman, but also black people. So one of the major takeaways that I took from it was the lack of compassion,
Mm.
because as the movie began from start to pretty much the climax of the movie, where the straw broke the camel's back, it was pretty much back to back people showing lack of compassion. Many people, they knew her situation. The landlord knew her situation. Her boss knew her situation. The lady at the bank knew her situation. Everybody knew her situation pretty much except the police. But
Mm.
we always know the police always make everything worse. So we didn't expect them to come in and make it better. They
Right.
always make things worse.
Okay.
But but other than that, everybody understood and knew what her situation was, but nobody wanted to offer to help until it was too late.
Mm.
So, I think when you look at that aspect of it, we have to, raise our level of compassion, raise our love for just ourselves and our own situation, and and grow that love to be able to share and do a kind deed to help somebody else out.
I love that. I love that. I agree. It was just kind of like no one wanted to, cause she kept saying something. It made me think of maybe some things she may have went through.
Well, she
Like,
kept saying nobody want to help me.
yeah, no one wants to
Nobody
help
help
me,
me. Yeah.
or she kept saying that, like, and that just makes you think like that's how we. I mean, that's how we feel. Like no one wants to help us.
Hmm.
So that lack of compassion that stood out to me as well. So yeah, that's yeah.
So I can,
Anybody else want to
I can,
elaborate?
I can
Thank you, Coach Cam. I know our brother keeps saying coach. Well, whatever. I got all these different coaches and kings. I know my brother Cam can't stay with us too long. But thank you so much for elaborating on that.
Yes, man.
My two sister Ebony's. I know my one sister, she just caught on today. So
yeah. So for me, to be honest, even when you posted about it and I agreed to be on, like I asked to be on the show, and thank you for that. For me, I come from a perspective of like I'm thinking of it in totality, right? And I come from a health and wellness perspective or vantage point, if you will, right?
mhm.
So I'm thinking about it in the sense where, one, it's a very popular movie, and I know that historically media has been used to manipulate situations and get us thinking a certain way and feeling a certain way and kind of orchestrating a narrative, right? So from the time when I see it being popular on Instagram and social media and whatnot, I'm like, I'm not gonna watch that because it sounds depressing. And do I need to watch this movie in order to understand the plight of Black women or of single mothers, do I need to see that? It's like, if a Black person gets shot by police, do I need to actually watch the video to understand the weight of what is happening? I don't feel like I do. And I understand and I see that a lot of times these narratives are, you know, put to the forefront to insinuate or create a feeling, you know what I mean? And it's difficult, especially, you know, in our community, to look away from trauma, because it's like it's in us. Like it's like we watch these things, and I feel like as a collective we don't really understand like how they affect us, how they affect our nervous system, how they affect how we think, how they affect how we feel, and then ultimately how we operate. So at first that was going to be my standpoint, and I'm like, Tyler Perry needs to put more positivity out there and not necessarily push this to the forefront. However, because being on the show, I'm like, you know what, maybe you know, in this season of my life, I just so happen to be a single mother, right? So I'm like, okay, I have to check myself. We're growing into gods. I have to check myself, right? So I'm like, maybe there's a part of me that's like triggered or like avoiding it. So I'm like, okay, let me confront this, and come into this situation with, you know, understanding of the movie. So I watched the movie today, and my whole perspective changed. Like, I understand why he depicted it like it was. He did a very good job of depicting the experience of Black women, Black people, single mothers. And I've literally myself personally been in situations where I'm like, man, this could be a movie, because it's like, somebody can't make this stuff up. It's like one thing after another after another after another, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's not, I've heard people say like it's far-fetched, it's so unreasonable, and I'm like, no, it's not. You know what I mean? So I think he did a really good job of you know, depicting that. But I do also, you know, coming back to my original point a little bit, like, we have to be aware of how we take in everything, right? Like food, media, music, all of these things, right? Because sometimes, especially sitting and watching a movie, when you sit and watch a movie, you're in a state of relaxation, you're chilling, you're watching the movie, you are hyper focused on exactly the sounds, the visuals, the everything that's going on. And that is a prime opportunity for you to be influenced in ways that you really don't understand necessarily, right? So I think we have to be aware of that. And even for me going into the movie, I'm just like, I need to you know, protect my energy and whatnot. Whereas like most of the time when we go and watch a movie, that's not how we go into it, you know? So I mean, I say all that to say I think it was a good movie. I think he did a good job, and seeing it as art, like, I feel like the twist at the end wasn't so like, it's still artistic, right? It's still a movie, it's still that. So I mean, I think overall it was good, and it gives us an opportunity to see many different things can be pulled apart from that, and we could, if we want to, use those things to come to solutions and make things better in our community. Because there were down points and sad points and depressing points. There were also some positives that we could take from it.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Ebony.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Which yes, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum, and thanks once again, sis, for inviting me and having the privilege to be on your platform once again. My take on the movie was very inspirational, actually. The Tyler Perry movies over the years has transitioned from the way back in the day where he was underground, and he was an underground comedian where he did plays. So for me to watch him over the years and see how he gradually uh, came to the pivotal point of actual being a producer, and also going into actually getting the realistic point of views and perspectives of real life issues, is it speaks volumes to me. For me, the movie personally, I related in so many different dynamics. Most importantly, it was the mental condition that all of the actors actually dealt with. And it really touched home on the different dynamics and the different ways that our people have to deal with their day-to-day uh situations and circumstances, but also how they cope with them, how they really deal with one another, and what was the underlining reasons for uh how they treated one another. Two of the things that really stuck out to me was one, when she was actually in the room, and it was kind of it kind of brought to my attention the questions like, why is she moving so slowly? It kind of, for me, it kind of triggered a concern as to why was she moving very slowly. And then the looks that was being on the faces when she dropped the daughter off, okay,
Mm.
from the principal. So I was like, uh-oh, this is something is going on. And then too, when she actually uh was trying to do the right thing, that was her motivation the whole time, trying to do the right thing, but at the same time there was so much conflict that she had to deal with, that it was like she was questioning herself, like, I'm trying to do the right thing, I'm trying to take care of my daughter, I'm trying to earn a living, honest living, yet I don't get any assistance, I don't get the help,
Mm.
and one thing that really touched my heart was that she, even though she didn't say it in the movie, she was really crying out for her creator to help her.
Mm.
There were a couple of times in the movie where she just looked up, but she was looking up as if, I'm giving it my all, we're coming forth my help. It reminded me of Hagar. It reminded me of the women in the Bible, that they, when they finally put their burden down, that's when they actually was able to get some help and some maneuverability that was giving them guidance and assistance in their difficulty and their struggle. And then the last thing, the mental thing, was the pain was so severe for her, because her life was her daughter. And
Mm.
when she realized, when her daughter passed away, her mind did a trigger that caused her to not focus on the reality of things. But what gave her life, what she didn't realize, what gave her life was struggling to do the right thing for that child, for her child, the child that she gave birth to. So I was like, wow, that mind, the mentality, and the ability for the mind to that power that the mind has to actually be able to say, hey, you can still focus, you can still do this work, you can still move, you still have some innate power or source within yourself to keep moving, keep pushing. So those were the highlights for personally that really touched me in the movie.
Woo! You literally said it all. Did anybody want to elaborate on what she just said?
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that mental aspect as well, because that was something else that stood out to me, was how we actually process trauma.
Mm.
And I don't know if this was the case. I thought this was the case at first, but then somebody said that it wasn't. So maybe y'all can help me out. But I also thought that, I know her daughter was on medication because she was sick, but I don't know if she also had taken some type of medication, and maybe that medication had triggered her to have a psychotic break. I don't
Mm.
know. Maybe, I don't know. Y'all correct me on that part. But even if that was the case, okay, my initial thought was, when we're dealing with trauma and then they prescribe these medications for us to take, then they cause us to have these mental breakdowns and have these potential side effects. But then also, if that's not the case, and she just was triggered, as Sister Ebony mentioned earlier, then it brought into my mind how we actually process grief,
Mm.
and being able to process such a huge loss, because this was actually the next day, being able to process the loss of your child, as Sister Ebony mentioned, was her life. Her mind was just not able to process that when she got up the next day and literally was like in routine, to the point where she was doing these things and didn't realize that this was actually happening. And as Sister Ebony mentioned, she went to the school, and the people at the school was looking at her, but nobody pulled her to the side to say, "Hey, sis, what you talking about is not making any sense." Because remember, she goes to the school twice. She
Mm.
gets to the school, supposedly drops her daughter off. Then she comes back to the school. Remember when she leaves the job, because apparently she's supposed to go take the money to her daughter. So she went to the school twice, and two times they didn't say anything to her.
Right.
So that was another thing. The other thing that popped in my head was the name of Tyler Perry's documentary is called Maxine's Baby. So if you get an opportunity, you can go and type that in. It's Maxine's Baby, but you can go and you can watch
Mm.
that, and you can really get an understanding of how Tyler Perry thinks.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been watching Tyler Perry movies probably just as long as Sister Ebony, back to the plays, because that's when I first seen him, when he was doing the plays, and he was doing the Medea stage plays. And I enjoyed the stage plays because of the relatability of Medea. And that Medea was a character that, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, was a foundational piece in the black family. That
Mm-hmm.
was a piece that offered guidance, that offered correction, that was there to keep the family together. And when we look at the history, and this is not about feeling, this is fact over feeling. When you look at our history, there wasn't black men that was keeping the family together, because the men were out working. It was the women that were there keeping the families together. They were the matriarchal figures, because remember, in slavery, they was destroying the man.
Mm-hmm.
They was destroying the men to the point where they had them working ex- very long hours. They was dead. They would separate the families, right? So you had the mothers that were the patriarchal standpoints of patriarchal foundational pillars that helped to keep the family together. And then as we moved further on in the history, right, especially when they entered, when drugs hit our community, and when mass incarceration hit our community, all of the black men was taken out of the home, either through violence, through drugs, through prison and pipeline. They was gone. So because the black men was gone, it was the black women that was there, and they was offering the guidance, they was offering the love, they was offering the correction, so that the family would stay together. When you look at soul food is a good example of that. Remember, the
Oh,
grandmother was the matriarchal figure that kept the family together. And the
yeah.
minute that she passed away, the family went to hell. Everybody started doing their own thing. Everybody started acting crazy, acting like they didn't have no home training. But that's because the matriarchal strong black woman figure is a real figure in our community,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to acknowledge that. And I'll close with this. One of the things that I offered was the fact that a lot of times people want to talk about all of the positivity, and we have a lot of positivity, but one thing about life is you don't have the positivity without the struggle.
Mm.
It's yin and yang. The minister said that struggle is the mother of creativity, or pain is the mother of creativity. He mentioned that in Closing the Gap. So you're not going to have creative, artistic work. You're not going to have success. You're not going to have positivity unless you have pain, unless you have struggle, unless you have obstacles to go along with it.
Man,
Mm.
that's good.
Break it down.
Can I say something on the grief part of it? So
Yeah.
in terms of like the storyline being that the daughter died, and then the next day was the outcome of the day, right? I feel like, when you're in the thick of things and you're just on autopilot, you don't it's almost like, especially when you have children to take care of, it's like it's beyond being able to stop and say, okay, what's going on right now? It's like things have to happen, things need to get done, so you just go. And you could see that she was on autopilot, because it was just automatic that she got up the next day and she did the routine, right? And it was, I don't know if you all caught it, but at the end, it was like when she got the news that her daughter died, at first she didn't accept it. It was like a blank, you know, it was like blank. And then she looked up, and then it was like, you could see that her mind clicked. It like, she clicked back into reality, and it was like, oh my goodness, like, this is real. My daughter's not here, right? But when you're in grief, it's like, it's one of those things that can consume you, right? And you're not aware of reality. And the way that our brains work, the way that our subconscious works, is that it's trying to protect us, right? It's trying to protect us from feeling pain, from being hurt. So her brain essentially went into like disassociation. She was disassociating from the reality of the fact that her daughter had passed away, and just kept on going and kept on going. But what kind of stuck out to me is that many instances in the story, of course it's a story, but many instances where it didn't have to be like that. If one person said something, or one person was a little bit understanding, or if one person said, hold on, like the principal, for example, even you know, the manager at the job, like if he was a little compassionate, or, do you know what I mean? Like, if, you know, certain things, if the lady would have just cashed the check, like, you know what I mean? Like certain things where it's like, it didn't have to be like that. So I think of it as like, she was struggling. Like you said, Sister Angelica, she kept on saying like, nobody's helping me, right? She was in a state of helplessness. And when you're in that state of helplessness, you can't think of solutions. She was racked. That whole day was her trying to come up with solutions, right? But when you're in grief, you can't come up with solutions, because you're not seeing reality. You're not seeing things for what they are. You're seeing things from a helpless vantage point, which obviously limits your sight. You don't have a clear vision, right? And then I think that was my point. But I feel like in so many, like I said, in so many instances, people could have helped her. So I think that all of that could have been avoided. And if we just think of it in a reality type of situation, right? There are many of us in our communities who are going through things like this. And sometimes it just takes a word to give to somebody. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of compassion, a little bit of kindness, a little bit of understanding to make somebody feel seen, and make somebody feel heard, and make somebody feel like, wow, okay, all of this is going on over here, but this is good. You know what I mean? And I think we need to be more aware of us being more of like a community. Everybody's very individualistic. So it's just like, I'm going to just focus on me. My people are good. My family's good. Okay, she'll handle it. Or she's strong. She'll figure it out. But it's like, no, how different could it have been if somebody just put a word on her heart, or understood her, or, do you know what I mean? Even before all of this happened, right? Because obviously this was the straw, right? There's many straws before the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will, right?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Cam, did you have something to say? No.
No, ma'am.
Okay. And like I said, I know my brother gotta go. So if y'all don't see him no more, assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for getting on the show, elaborating with us on this great topic. And you guys have said so much. Like, when Sister Ebony, she talked about, and that's why I can relate so much, because I personally went through a loss. I lost a child back in 2016. And the moment that they told me, mind you, I'm already 9 months pregnant and my baby's in me. And when they told me that, oh, there isn't a heartbeat, when I say my mind, like everything just went numb. I remember going into the labor and delivery room, and it was like it was like I wasn't here. I could not accept what was going on. And they were saying, put your gown on, like getting ready to deliver. So I'm getting ready to deliver a dead child, like a dead baby. Like it wasn't registering to me, to where I was looking myself in the mirror, staring, didn't even know what I was staring at. So like a part of me felt like it left in that moment. And I remember as I went home, I still had this, I would still rub my belly as if the baby was still there, because I didn't come home with a baby. So everything felt like it wasn't real, to a point to where I completely ignored that situation happened. you would have thought that I did not go through that, because after the week I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to kind of elaborate on it, and I didn't want to think about it. So I didn't accept it. However, by the grace of Allah, I was blessed with my child now, Amir. And it wasn't until I had him to where it brought me back to, wow, I never grieved over that loss. And that's been, my son would have been 9, so I felt so much when the moment at the end, when they basically said that, oh, honey, she died last night. Of course, in my mind, we didn't know that. We're going through the movie like, oh my God, why are they doing that to her? Like, she's a good person. This whole time, she's like, she's not in her right state of mind. And that just honestly just goes back to the point of how if we could just start just being able to just notice and see when our people are crying out for help, to reach out and say something. It was so many times and so many instances. Honestly, the movie could have got cut short if somebody would have just went and go talk to her. If somebody would have just went like, listen, baby, unfortunately, and I ain't being funny, your daughter died last night. So in the bank teller, she said she knew that already. All right, so we over here wasting time trying to get everybody worked up. But I just wanted to make emphasis on how important it is for us to also be able to be a community and also see those things that are going on within us, like even seeing individuals going through things, just reach out and say something, because it probably could have been solved very quickly, and she probably didn't have to go through most of the things that she went through in that movie. So yeah.
I also want to
Yes,
say
ma'am.
too that the two Black women, particularly the bank teller and the police officer, I feel like they like felt her the most, and she felt seen by them the most, and the old lady too, the elderly lady.
Yeah.
But that made me think, like, I feel like nobody got Black women like Black women, like in the state that we're in right now. You know what I mean? Like, nobody can understand Black women like Black women. But if we just thought more as like a collective, like a community, like even things like how you have your healing circle and stuff like that, like those things are so important, because it's very easy to feel like you're alone and like you're doing it by yourself. But it's like, no, like I did this too, and everybody's at different levels, right? So it's like one person may have already gone through what you're going through, one person might understand it differently, right? So like we can all help each other if we understood that we're a collective and we can help each other, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am. And on that note as well, the compassion piece is so very important, because we, as like you said, we as Black women know Black women. And one thing that I really want to make sure, I really wish and hope and pray that we as a Black people stop trying to figure out and put a label on what is actually happening with our people. And particularly, I don't know, I forgot the brother's name, but about the question about the medication, perhaps she was on a medication, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And if you really look at her, if you really just take a few minutes and really look at her demeanor, her posture, her face, her countenance, her eyes, the way she walked, the way that she was speaking, the way that she tried to deal with each individual according to the individual relationship that she had with every person, right? The woman, like Sister Ebboni X said, the woman, she go hard. We go hard. We's tired. The sister wasn't eating. She was deprived of sleep. She was deprived of nutrition. She was deprived of food. She was deprived of water. She was deprived of clean air. She was deprived of an environment that served her. So when you deal with all of these things, and the body automatically, as she was pushing as hard as she was, there was so many deficiencies that she was dealing with that she didn't even know, right? So if you're deficient in the natural vitamins and minerals that you get from food, but she wasn't eating, the ability to flush toxins out of your body, but she wasn't drinking water. The time that it takes for the body to rejuvenate and regenerate cells when you sleep a good amount, a number of hours, but she didn't get hardly any sleep. So she was deteriorating. Here is a Black woman deteriorating every single day, but yet everybody is ridiculing and not assisting her, judging her, complaining about her, right? So we as a people, that is something that the minister always talk about. Where is our compassion at? Do we have a heart as to what's going on in humanity? But number one, charity starts at home and it spreads abroad, right? So if we don't have the same love for your Black brother, your Black sister, we don't have love for a sister, and we're judging a sister, we're judging the things that she's doing wrong, quote unquote. What does that say about the love that you have for yourself? You know, do we love ourselves enough? Are we taking care? Are we looking at what our sisters are going through as a self-checker? Yes. Because guess what? If we see what's going on with the sister, we have a responsibility to say something, to speak out against it, to do something about it, or gird up in your body, in your whole being, to make sure that this situation doesn't continue. Yeah. You know, so we have to be very careful with that judgment. We have to be very careful, like Sister Ebboni X said, with that independence, the individualism. You know, that ain't me, that look at her. No, look at us. Look at us and look at we, you know, and we're commissioned to help one another. Our neighbor, it's in the Bible and it's in the Holy Quran. It's even in our nature, in our DNA and in our genetic makeup. If you don't yearn, like the minister said, if you don't have a passion or a hurt that's going on with the people that's being bombed, with our people that don't have enough food, with our children running around the street with a diaper on when their mama not available, or where mama at, then that means we're not human. And being human is the first opportunity for us to be able to be the best human and then become gods. But then the question is, what do we want to do? What is our purpose? What are we here for?
Break it down. Break it down. Praise be to Allah. I'm Sister Ebony, because I want to get
yeah, I was just gonna say one thing to piggyback off of what Sister Ebony said. In terms of like noticing when somebody is off, like noticing when you see somebody and maybe it's a person that's always like put together a certain way, or you know, behaves a certain way, and then they're like not like that. It's important to check it. I feel like in particular for single mothers, right? And Black single mothers, it's like we're expected to be strong, so nobody second guesses when we are like overburdened, right? Because it's like, oh, she always handles it, she always gets it. And I feel like a lot of times the compassion comes after the straw has broken, like when the mother, and like, you know, it's, you know, it happens where sometimes the mother loses her mind and kills her children, or like does something insane, like even like this movie, like in reality. And then they say, well, I wish she should have asked for help, or like I wish I knew, or like, you know, all these kind of things after the fact, even in the movie, right? Like all these people showed up for her, and that was the part where I got a little teary, because I'm just like, oh, they showed up for her, right? Yeah. But it's like, why did it take for all of this to transpire for somebody to say to see her? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why does it have to get to this extent where, you know, coming back to what I said initially, it's like one person could have said something to her, you know, that alleviated some of the burden or some of the stress off of her. Like, yeah, so just being aware, like we have to be aware of each other. And I feel like as like that thing where as mothers, I feel like, well, for example, like we're at the playground, right? And like another child gets hurt, like automatically you're gonna go and like, I don't know, that's how I am. Automatically you're gonna go help the child, like regardless if it's your child or not, right? I feel like we should be like that in normal situations. You know what I mean? Like if someone needs help, like ask them, like be willing to help. Like don't be one who's like, you know, first you're gonna turn up your nose and be like, oh, look at her, like, you know what I mean? Like, no, be willing to help, because she is you. I forgot what Sister Ebony says, but like we're in this together. Like it's us, it's not her, it's me, it's you, it's us, you know? So yeah, just being aware.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. Coach King, I know you've been quiet most of the time. I'm waiting to hear from you. I know we got a lot. This is the, oh my God, I'm okay. The movie was absolutely amazing for me. And it's so much to talk about within this concept of the movie. And it just sounds like to me, as we're all dialoguing about it, it sounds like there's a real need for the love in our community, as far as how, you know, we need to show up for one another. It's that coming together in unity, you know, being able to recognize when one needs help and being compassionate. That lack of compassion, for me, really kind of did it. And when you guys elaborated on it, really opened my eyes to see, you know, the condition that was shown in the movie is literally the condition that we see our people in today, even with just the lack of resources. It seems like the sister was getting the minimum wage. It looked like she was getting during the movie. Like she did not have the resources that she need, but she was around people that did, like, or they knew her or they seen her. It kind of remind me of the lady that was in the bank, said, oh, I see you coming in the bank all the time with your daughter, and you don't, you know this and you see it, but you know, it's kind of like, don't wait until the last minute, and we have to stop doing that, you know. So I know I'm waiting on Coach King to elaborate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I really wanted to ask y'all a question, but I felt like it was going to open up a whole nother topic. But, you know, we seen the psychological part of it. You know, we saw everything like leading up to her breaking point. What do you all think she would have been justified if she did take it a step further? Because we're looking at it a certain way, because she didn't harm nobody, she didn't kill nobody. But what if she really would have robbed the bank? What if she would have killed one of the hostages? With our understanding of what her situation is, would we still be that much compassionate, right? We have people that are labeled as criminals all the time that kill people because they were trying to feed their family. So they robbed them and killed them, or whatever the case may be. They stole a car because they was tired of always riding public transportation, or they had no way around. But if we would have went back in their story, we maybe would have saw all the events leading up to what they did. So I just wanted to ask y'all, would we be this understanding and this compassionate if would she have been justified even if she would have took it a little further with us knowing her situation?
I can speak to that, to be honest, because I have like personal experience with, you know, something along those lines. And personally I feel like yes. And it's also why, like, it points to a problem in our, well, I'm in Canada, but I mean like North American, I feel like the judicial system as a whole, in terms of criminalizing certain things to such a high extent, where a lot of times like rehabilitation is after the fact. And I feel like if people were seen as good, like if people were seen as, you know, people are good by nature, people are good, people don't want to be criminals, people don't want to, of course there's the odd one, right? But if we looked at it like that, and people went, when crimes happened, those background stories were looked into and approached in a compassionate way. Like there are in countries like Sweden, for example, and like those Scandinavian countries, they view their judicial system very differently, and their outcomes are very different. Even their prison systems and the way that their cells are set up is very different. Like it sees the person as a human. It sees the person as not just like, okay, this person did this, but who are they? What's their story? What led up to this? And those kinds of things. So I think we need to. I think that's a really awesome question. Like, that's a great question, because often we don't think of that. We just look at the incident. And I feel like even for myself, like if I didn't have a close connection with kind of something like that, then maybe I wouldn't even think how I'm thinking now, right? Because you just think, okay, that person's bad, they did something bad. But it's like, if you look at the person, you're a human, and by nature we are good, you know what I mean? But things cause us to be this way. Of course, some things deserve the end of punishment, but I mean, within reason, right? So
Yeah, and I think the movie made us do that. It made us take a deeper look into why people do what they do, right? It's always like the minister says, it's a motive of why we do what we do. You know what I mean? But I just was interested, you know what I mean? Because obviously, and it's no knock to the character, but I mean, who wouldn't feel bad for a struggling single mom? You know what I mean? But will we feel bad for 16-year-old, you know what I mean, Chicago native that just stuck somebody up or because they was hungry, you know what I mean? So I think the movie forced us to start being aware, like, dang, and even not even like people that commit quote unquote crimes, but just being aware just in general of somebody, everybody's going through something. You don't know what somebody's going through. You don't know how your words can affect them. It could be the last strike for them. So it makes me actually look at myself
Yeah.
a little bit more after watching the film, like, dang, maybe I should, go into situations and encounters with people being understanding from the get-go, not even realizing a situation, but recognizing they're going through something. I think the movie forced that in me.
I love that. I love that. And yes, sis, well, praise be to Allah. Thank you so much, Sister Ebony, for joining us. We'll go ahead and let you go.
Can you
Thank
hear me?
you.
assalamu alaikum, it was cool.
Yes. Walaikum salam.
Wow.
No,
Tell me.
I can hear you now. No, our one sister, she had to
Oh,
go.
yes, ma'am. I just wanted to answer his question. I would say yes, I will still have the passion. In fact, I would have a little bit more compassion and concern for the sister, because that does happen in our community. If you look at the character of the police officers, they are very taunted and they are very excited about the fact that they want our people to be in that kind of position. They enjoy our people to be forced, even if they have a part in playing in our people being into that position to where their rights are completely taken away. So I would have an even more understanding but more compassion for that individual, because we have a history, we have a well rich history as to this go on going for centuries. you know and that is what we want to avoid. We want to avoid that happening. We want to I enjoy and I'm appreciative of the movie, because hopefully it will give us a consciousness to where we can say, okay, this is something that we have to do something about. We don't want we don't want our people to be doing this. We don't want them to be, okay, this is what I'm going to do, because there's even movies out that people has actually robbed banks,
Mhm.
because of the sickness. I forget the movie that was called, with Denzel Washington.
With John Q, with his son
Yeah,
needed
John.
a.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. It's a couple movies out similar to that.
Mhm.
So yes, I would definitely have the same compassion and understanding. But we want to try to get the consciousness, to where we decide, okay, as a community effort, no more. We have to do something about it. We have to take the initiative and the responsibility so that this will stop, because this is an ongoing pattern.
Mhm.
break it down, break it down. Listen, I had to like think about that, right? Because that's why it's so important. In OMG, I was listening to, I want to say, I was listening to a lecture. It was something that came on Final Call Radio. And that's why it's so important that we learn how to respond. I think it was on the Final Call Radio. It's the way that we respond to difficulty, to struggle. And sometimes, and I'm not saying this verbatim, but it kind of made me think about how when we understand it, and I had to get myself to a point where I accepted the transitioning of my child. It was a point where I did not accept that. But when you understand us as, those that have children, we're just a steward, like this is not my child, like I am over my child. I am a steward over my child, but my child, belongs to God. And that's where, like we will return to him. So once I understood that, it made me have a better understanding and accepting it. And it may be things in our life that we find hard to accept, especially when it comes to a death of a loved one. We may not understand, oh, why did my son have to die? Or why did this have to happen? And this and that matter. But when we don't accept what God has ordained, it makes it hard for us to actually get through it. So it kind of made me think about how because I really wish I could remember what was it on the Final Call Radio. Somebody heard or was listening to it, please let me know. But I was like, wow, there's going to be instances where we won't accept it, but it's not our will, it's God's will. And when you understand it, it's God's will, you're better able to respond to the
Wow.
difficulty or the effect of what has happened to you. And I truly, truly believe that it has to be a space where we have to accept it. And due to Janae not accepting what has happened, mind you, they said she died last night. I'm like, this only a day. So I mean, I get, her. She probably didn't accept it right away, because I mean, she did it the next day. But seeing how, because she didn't accept it, you seen what was going on in her behavior.
Yeah,
You know.
it's so crazy you say that. One, I definitely know what you're talking about. I heard that on the Final Call as well, but
Yeah.
I don't know the reference. But two, I literally still am, but I'm on the tail end of it. But I literally was going through a major trial not too long ago, and I was talking to a particular brother at the mosque here in Chicago, and he really helped me get through it. And at first I wasn't so open to talk about it, but as we were talking, he basically said, in a nutshell, he said the healing is not in you trying to figure out why. The
Mm.
more that you ask why and try to figure out, why did this person do this, why did this situation go this way, you keep reopening the wound and peeling off the bandage. The healing is in trusting that Allah ordained it. You know what I'm saying? That's where all the healing is. So whenever you're going through something, as I was, and I kept like thinking like, but why? But this doesn't make sense. The assurity comes from, well, isn't Allah the best knower? Surely he is. So you have to trust in Allah's decision, and you can accept what Allah ordained and act accordingly. So that's so funny that you just said that, because that's immediately where my mind went.
Oh my God, listen. And that's how I've been able to get through things, like having to accept, and by the grace of Allah, like I strive every morning to just let Allah guide me to whatever page He wants to guide me in the Quran. And He keeps guiding me to trust, 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 trust. Like everything I'm reading is rest and trust in him, trusting him a lot, relying him. Like, and when we do that, that's where the peace comes. That's where the understanding comes. That's when, okay, you know, you understand life better, you know, because there is going to be a time we can't live forever, you know. We want to live forever, but some things are ordained. Some people like transition in a womb, some people transition like right after birth, and it's a last permissive will. And when you accept that, you can manage the loss better, you can manage the grief better. And I have brother Willie, and maybe you guys can elaborate on real quick. We won't be too long on here because I'm saying we can talk all day about this, but because I don't know what y'all got to do. Yeah, but brother Willie, and I can agree with him on that. He said I kind of felt that God was not mentioned in the movie. Maybe I missed it. Thought it was strange for a Tyler Perry movie.
Mm.
What are y'all thoughts
Yes.
on that?
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to comment on what you had mentioned, but I did comment earlier, praise be to Allah, that she was crying out for God. Whenever
Mm,
you see a woman, especially with that picture that you just showed us about a half hour ago, when she was in the shower, and I mean shower, she was in the rain and her stuff was out. That's God right there. She don't gotta say God. she don't gotta
Right.
she don't
yeah.
gotta say Yahweh. She don't gotta say Allah. That's God, creator, something.
Ooh.
That's how we connect with Allah, and he begins to guide us. She surrendered her everything at
Yeah.
that moment. So she was calling out to God. She may not have said that. Now it might have been because of, I don't know, the tabloids, the writing, the I don't know. But that right there, for me, as your sister, you can't tell me that she was not calling out for God.
Mm.
She was.
Yeah.
And us as women who's lost a child, who's a mother, who's raised children, who's sacrificed, who's gave it our all to raise our children with nothing. That picture right there, that spoke, that pulled on my heartstrings.
Ooh.
Um, Last thing I want to say about God's will, it's very difficult. It gets very, for me, in trials and learn, and I'm still learning this because I'm not a master. But in learning trials, especially hard trials, that's necessary to establish truth, whether it's Allah's truth, whether it's the doctrine's truth, whether it is your way of life truth, whether it is your personal truth that you live on. When you don't surrender to Allah, God, or you don't accept his will, there's
Mm.
something that goes on. I know for me personally, I found myself taking responsibility for everything.
Mm.
Like, that's my fault. That happened because of something I did or didn't do. And I had to learn, and I'm still learning, that in order to accept Allah's will and to for me to do the will of Allah, I have to focus on what Allah is doing, not to me, but he's doing for me.
Yes.
And I have to make sure that I don't take responsibility, because when I take responsibility over Allah's will, it causes me not to forgive myself, even if I'm short, if I fell short, even if I made a mistake. And it detaches me from accepting Allah or God's forgiveness for me. For
Mm-hmm.
he opens up a way for us. He when we sin, and even when we make bad decisions, God will delay our consequence, or he will remove the consequence based on our goodwill, our duty, and our good deeds. But when we take responsibility off of Allah, and we try to be the God in the situation, and we don't surrender our will, and we say, oh, this is how it's supposed to be, and Allah, I'm supposed to be chastised or punished or what this, that, and the other, it takes it prolongs the trial. And so
Yeah.
we're wondering, why am I still feeling this? Why am I still sad? Why am I still this, that, and the other? It is because we're taking on a responsibility that we do not have the power nor the authority to take.
Yeah, I
So
think.
it's so important. Yes, sir.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's so important that we delve into our trials. We really delve into them and not run away from them, not try to pacify them or use coping mechanism to alleviate it, because within the trial we will see ourselves when we do that, because we're going to do it because the minister said we're going to. But that is our elevation. And when we elevate out of the trial, when we're coming to the end of that trial and we're passing it, then we can affirm and say, I surrender my will. I surrender my will to do the will of Allah in that trial, because I have been successful in passing, or I did not surrender my will to do the will of Allah, and I got to repeat this trial when it comes back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our connection with the God determines life, right? It determines our reality, it determines how we perceive life. It Our relationship and connection with the God is that is the difference maker of how we go about life. So even us asking, the question why, and to the degree that we ask why, shows what level we're on in terms of our relationship with God.
Exactly.
Because when we strengthen our relationship with the God, we're able to understand how he's communicating with us. Not saying that everything that we go through, we're just gonna, oh, I can recognize you, God. I know what you're revealing to me. I know what sign this is. I'm not saying that, but we become more in tune with ourselves and with the God, because surely he's the only reality. You get what I'm saying? But I think, it's, just like the messenger says, a champion can't be recognized as the champion unless he has an opponent.
Mm.
So we can't be justified and say we're believers unless we've been thoroughly tried and we show and prove that we've trusted the God, that we kept our faith in the God when we were going through trials, some trials that are maybe more severe than others. So I think, this all ties in, and of course, like you said, we can go on for hours.
I know,
This
right?
hits home for me because I'm literally in that space right now, in this moment. When we get off this broadcast, I'm gonna go in nature and go read some more, because I got to get into it myself, because your brother is going through it. So this really hit home for me, because I know it to be true. You will have to fall down to your knees, cry, beg out for God. That when that moment happens, I think that's when your Islam begins. It's easy to hit all your prayers and to be active and to recite the Quran and the scriptures and the teachings, but they become real when you're faced with adversity. The actual teachings get put in place when we're going through something. We got to maneuver. We got to use the solutions in the teachings to solve a problem. That's when our Islam begins, and we use it as we use it as the weapons in our arsenal to destroy the obstacles in our path. But I think, to conclude, I think all of us have to get in tune with the God. And we know the struggle is ordained. We know that we'll be tried severely, at least once a year. But it is our disobedience, it's our disconnection from the God, which puts us in certain circumstances, because we're not supposed to be constantly struggling to
Ooh,
a certain degree.
come on. Come on. Break it down. Oh. Why is it that the show that got like even more hotter like now, like, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I know we're like extending time. I don't know how much longer y'all got. We can do another 15 because we do got more comments and questions. We
Yeah,
got
let's get to the questions. Yeah.
okay. I'm gonna go ahead and when I say, oh my gosh, you everything's in alignment, you guys, because I can honestly say that that is where I'm at. Like, we're all going through a particular phase in our lives right now, but I truly feel like it's a great phase right now to we have to literally trust in God. We have to trust in Allah. Like, literally trust in him and rest in trust. And that was something that I went into reading the Quran, like rest and trust in him. And like you said, hey, our Islam starts when the trials come.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see how you act when rent due and you ain't got the money to pay rent.
Yep.
Car broke down, or somebody done said something negative to you. That's where our trials come, and that's where that's where we really fall into submission to him. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to a question. I also see my sister have my sister Ebony, hop back on. Hold on, wait, you guys. Sister Ebony, you on? All right, my sister back. It got hot, sis. I'm like, oh, I hope she didn't leave us. But I see we had a question. Hold on, wait. Yeah, we think. Okay. So, Brother Willie, he asked a great
He's
question.
on fire, yeah.
Yeah,
Especially
he
how
is.
will we help Janaya and the Maz? What angle from the teachings will we lean in on? Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, you was reading it, so you
Oh,
can.
I can read it. Yeah.
Okay.
If we met Janaya, what from the teachings could we share with her to help her? How could our mosque or study group help her with one of her real problems? Car, rent, loss, mental health. I would say there's me. I mean, the whole Quran, the whole body of wisdom of the supreme wisdom could help her. Uh, because it's what Allah revealed. But for me, I would say, do you think you'll be left alone on saying you believe? You know what I mean? Like I said, we can't claim to be anything until we got put to the test.
Ooh.
You can't. It's like even when you're building a brand, your brand is fake when you're just speaking from I thinks and I feel. It's a difference, and your brand becomes more real when you're like, bro, this is tried and true. I live this, G. You get what I'm saying? I'm a real self-development coach because I had to learn how to develop myself in order to teach you how to develop yourself.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? I'm a real personal trainer because I know what I had to go through when I was having my weight problems. The brand is totally different. You get what I'm saying? We become different reflections based on our trials,
Mm.
based on our struggles and how we overcome them. If you look, the National Training Conference is July 24th to the 27th. I want a youth division. However, if you think about what the theme is for the youth division, it's triumph over trials. And I was
Mm.
just talking to the assistant supreme on Sunday when we were on Brother Mandine's show, and we were talking about not that trials won't happen, but how do you become victorious over your trials? How do you
Mm.
become successful? How do you become the winner? It's trusting and relying totally on Allah through that process, number one. But two, struggle is actually, it don't matter how severe it is, it's actually a good thing if yet we understood because we're being fashioned and sharpening into who we're supposed to be. We can't, again, we can't claim to be anything unless we've been thoroughly tested to say we are that. Even
Mm.
me with me being a student lieutenant out here, with my stripes, I really earned them and still am earning it. But I'm being made a lieutenant. I'm not getting the title. I haven't been given the title lieutenant. I'm having to prove myself every day that this brother can
Yes.
be an officer. He can be a student lieutenant. So I think it's all about our perception when we go through things, and our, faith in Allah that will help us, be on top of this, come out on top of the situation. So to answer the question, that's the angle I would hit. That's the angle that I would attack that situation with, is what do you think we'll be left alone on saying we believe? Not yet be
Mm.
tried. Who do we think we are to not be tried?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Praise be to
Okay.
Allah. You on fire, brother
Yeah.
Zion.
Yes, yes. So I would the question share with her to help her. How could our minds of study groups help her with? Well, the first thing I will offer her is a kind word. That's the first thing that I would do. I will offer her to come out. I will try to help her to share with her some of the things that she could do to help her environment. Um, give her the Final Call newspaper. Give her the Final Call radio. But get her in that MGT class. Get her in that MGT class so that she can bond with those sisters. You know, as soon as she walk in the door, there's going to be assistance aid. There's going to be help for her. She's going to be inspired. Our MGT class is top notch, 100, the number one class in the universe. Okay,
Okay.
so get her into that MGT class, and everything will begin to transform, and just she will get ideas. She will get inspiration. She will get help with food. She will get help with the medications that her child was on. You know, things that she could do to help improve her child's uh her health, but most importantly, her connecting with her God. That's where we learn it. We learn who God is. We
Mm-hmm.
learn we are the second self of God, not the second self of man. You
Mm.
know, so get her into that MGT class. That's what I would do. I would try my darndest to get her into that class. If she can't come to class on Saturday morning, Friday night study group, come on, sis. If she can't get there, come on Sunday.
Now
I
what?
mean,
Now so let's say we go. So brother, going back to brother Willie's point, he said, how many Janayas are we dealing with in the mosque? So my mind goes to, they're already going to MGT class, but
Mm.
they're faced with problems like the sister in the movie. So it's not a lost found that we're like, hey, come to MGT class. We got a solution for you. She's already in the class if she's in the mosque.
Mm-hmm.
if we met
No.
Janaya from the teachings, he says if we met
The
Janaya
question prior
from
to this one. It's question
There
prior.
oh
was
okay
there was a question when you wasn't
okay
on the screen, but I get exactly what.
I would still, you know what? My answer would be similar, but I would, if she's in the class, I would have a responsibility to help aid and assist her and remind her, sis, this is, sis, you need help with this. What do you need help with? Or I would try to find a sister to help her, or I'll try to find. We're like I said earlier, we have a we if we have the compassion and the love for self, if we know who self is, then we're going to have a responsibility. We're going to have a yearning, because if she's in the class, if she's in the mosque, and she's in that state, then that says something about the mosque environment, the study
Mm.
group environment. So it becomes the responsibility of everybody to help the Janayas that's in our mosque, in our study group.
Mm.
Trust and believe. We can't sit there and we can't conform to the world by looking at the Janaya in the mosque in the study group and saying, "Oh, that's her." No, that's me.
Mhm.
That's
Mm.
me. I'm looking at a mirror. I want for my sister what I want for myself. I am a reflection of my sister. So I look if I begin to judge, or anybody begin to judge Janaya, that's a curse on us. That's a curse on me. How can I help my sister? I want her to look good. I want her child to be healthy. I want her to have a better job. I want to give her resources. I want to teach her or train her how to make a meal out of beans and a few things that she has in her cupboard. It becomes our responsibility. It's nobody's responsibility. If she's in a mosque,
there you
our
go.
responsibility.
Yeah.
That's us. That's me. That's my answer to that question. I'm sorry I got the question wrong, because I thought I was just reading.
No,
the one
you
that was
okay.
on top. But yeah, trust and believe. That's my responsibility. Because guess what? The minister ain't gonna like that. The executive council ain't gonna like that. They gonna be asking us what's wrong with us. But it ain't even got to go there. It don't even got to go to that point. It's right here with me. I got a gut. My sister she ain't at her 100. She ain't feeling her. She's crying and screaming out. No, sir, no, ma'am, absolutely not. It's our responsibility, those of us who are in the mosque and the study group, to make sure that our Janaya gets what she needs, so that she can be inspired to elevate and build her connection with Almighty God Allah.
Absolutely. I don't want to cut you off, Sister Angelica, if you was finna say something.
Oh no, I mean I conversation is getting hot. I love it. It's really a good conversation. I do want to elaborate some on that question, but it like you had something to say, Coach King, and we'll wrap it up for tonight for the show. It was such a beautiful dialogue, but I would like for you to share your comment.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, I think connecting the sister back to her creator is the ultimate goal, and will be, the ultimate solution. I think, if I help somebody pay their rent, or I help somebody get a car, what have you, that may take care of the immediate problem, but it's not going to take care of the root of the problem. Because this being going through a struggle like she was, that doesn't happen overnight. You get what I'm saying? You don't become homeless overnight. You don't become overweight. You don't become broke or financially struggling overnight. So at some point, the connection got lost with the guy. At some point, her ability to be, to bounce back, whatever the case may be, I think y'all get the point, got lost. So I think, the bigger solution, or the whole solution would be, reconnecting the sister with the God in whatever way that looks like. You know what I mean? It's easy. I'm not one that subscribes to this approach. And I'm out in the field a lot, but I don't subscribe to giving somebody a paper and that's it. You know what I mean? That's not going to change the condition of our people or save our people. That is the tool that we use to start a process if they're willing to submit. You can read message to the black man and still be a fool. You get what I'm saying? But it takes a brotherhood. It takes you joining the classroom that will sharpen all of those things and those characteristics, that which makes you. But I think, it's a simultaneous thing as well. Obviously somebody's starving. What am I handing a message to the black man for? I'm gonna give him some food,
Okay.
and then we can continue. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. And you're absolutely right. It's just kind of like understanding just exactly where a person is in their life right now. So you may have scenarios and situations where it may not be the right time to hand them a message to a black man. You know, just seeing where they're at right now. I'm not saying that later on down the line you don't do that, but it's kind of like being able to um being open to nurture the situation and nurture the person and being able to see where it is that they are falling short in. I definitely believe that when it comes to any Janayas, Janayas in the mosque, in the study groups, Janayas in the world, right? If we're talking about it in a woman's perspective, there has to be a reconnection back to source. I truly believe, and I can bear witness to it, anytime that I'm feeling a bit disconnected in my day to day life, there's a disconnection with Allah. There's something that I'm falling short in. There's something that is like, maybe I'm not doing enough prayers, or maybe I'm not acknowledging certain things, right? So, it's only when we understand that Allah is literally the only reality, when we understand that, then we're able to deal with what comes with life. And if that's the mental health aspect, depression, anxiety, financial struggle, anything that comes with life, understanding that Allah is your only reality, then we're able to kind of like be able to kind of get through it. So I can honestly say, like, that's even bearing witness to just where space I'm in, getting back to this balance, right? Because at the end of the day, y'all, it's healing with, I always say the with Angelica, okay? Y'all healing with me. I'm not healed. We're healing, okay? So even in the process of ups and downs and Allah pulling me this way and that way, I'm still trying to get up every morning and make my prayers. I'm still trying to get in that exercise. I'm still trying to just make sure that whatever's going on in life, that I make sure I make Allah the exclusive object and let him handle it. You know what I'm saying? So if we can kind of just make sure that we elaborate that to all of the Janayas, again, in a mosque study group or at home, and understand how deep a connection that we have to our source and how he is the ultimate way. He is the way, and he
Yeah.
will show you the way. So understanding that is, I think that's how we'll be able to get our Janayas on the right path.
No, absolutely. I just wanted to say to that real quick. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
You know, we say, we say certain scriptures, we say, certain principles, but we got to understand what they do for us and why we got to use it. So like it's one thing to say God is our only reality, but how? God is everything through its wisdom, right? Because he's not sitting next to us where we can, go ask him something, but it's in what he revealed in his wisdom that we get the ammo that we need to go through life. So that's how Allah is the only reality,
Exactly.
right? But I also wanted to say something to what you said. When we feel disconnected from God, I saw a post once. It said something like, when we feel closer to God or we feel far from God, who moved? It's
Mm.
God ain't go nowhere. He's consistent. His ways is the same. His way is exact. So when we feel close, man, I got a close relationship to God. How? Through prayer. Because you get closer to God and you get further away from God spiritually, right? Mentally. It's not a physical thing, right? We become more like God in the mind. We become more like God spiritually. Certainly it's not just the anatomy of us that makes us God. We become more like God with our thoughts, with
Yeah.
our thinking. You get what I'm saying? So I just wanted to say that as well, because I noticed too, whenever my life gets chaotic, like I just cleaned my room up a few weeks ago, like it was like, it got to a point, I ain't gonna lie, it was terrible, like terrible. G. And I was like, wait, what happened? Then noticed I was getting a little bigger. My suits wasn't fitting. And I'm
Oh.
like, man, I'm just feeling sloppy. And I'm like, bro, the mosque meeting times didn't change.
Mm.
Allah's word didn't change. I got off the path. So I had to check myself. So whenever we're feeling closer to God, whenever we're feeling disconnected from God or far from God, you got to ask yourself, who moved? And you'll
Mm.
you'll answer the question, you move, fool. So you got to get back on your dean. So we talk about it, but we have to put an emphasis on it, like the messenger says, fly to Allah, seek refuge in Allah. But what does that look like? What does that
Mm.
look like? It has to be, that process has to become real. You know what I mean? Money is only as good as you use it. Tools and resources are only as good as we use it, so it can help us with our situations. It's the same with God. God is only as magnificent as we are willing to use him and submit to him.
I wanted to get up and walk away and drop the mic.
Praise be to Allah.
Ah! Oh God,
Praise
that
be
just
to Allah.
hey, that just felt so liberating right there. Praise
Praise be to Allah.
be to Allah. Oh my God, so beautiful, so
It's a period. I think that's it.
drop the mic, man. Oh my gosh. This has been such an amazing dialogue. We even got like more deep towards the end. I didn't expect how long this was gonna go. But oh my God, praise be to Allah. I just want to thank you all for joining us today. Earlier, of course, we had our brother King Cam earlier giving us his insight on the movie Straw. Our beautiful sister Ebboni X, she gave us some emphasis on the movie Straw. And I'm telling you, Coach King, you really sealed it up with this one. So we gonna end on this, right? Say who moved, man. That should be the quote. That should be the thing. Who moved? Y'all put it in the comment section, like who moved, man? Because I'm saying that's exactly what it is. Like anytime, like if something is off, I know it ain't. It's not. It was me. I'm slipping. I'm
Yep.
falling off the path. And it's going to happen. We're going to have those times when we fall off. But how do we reconnect? We get back into it, to those prayer. We make sure we eating that 1 meal a day. We make sure we fasting, right? We make sure we taking ourselves to the mosque or the study group or wherever we going, right? Getting back on our deen, right? So praise be to Allah. So I just want to say thank you all for joining us today to discuss such an amazing topic. We talked about the movie Straw, okay? This is the last straw, okay? And I just want to thank my amazing audience and Healing Tribe for joining us today. Again, I pray this bonus episode was informative, valuable, and of course, the number one thing always healing to you all. And before we end today's show, can you guys leave us with some closing remarks? Unless that was it, because I mean, brother, that was it for real. I ain't got nothing else to say. I love y'all, but y'all
Love
got
you
some closing
too.
remarks.
Love you too. I would just say this is really, I didn't make it to study group tonight, but this was an extra study group. You get what I'm saying? So I don't have nothing to add. Love you all as well. This was a great discussion. Um Follow me on Instagram at GTWT official. That's the brand. Grind today, why tomorrow. But seek refuge in Allah. We have to make the teachings and Allah's wisdom become real. We gotta nurse the teachings.
Mm.
And it's crazy. In my Islam, I got registered March 27, 2022. So I'm a baby, but my journey has been ever since I moved to Chicago after I accepted the teachings and got the ball rolling. Allah has been great to me through the ups and downs. We can't enjoy a sunny day. We can't appreciate a sunny day if we don't know what it feels like to go through a storm. So we got to be grateful in whatever phase that we're in and always be grateful. Because surely, whether it's Allah's active or permissive will, He's in control. He's running the show. So we got to sit back and accept, what He has ordained for us, and we be pawns on His chessboard. So that's all I have. Appreciate you having me.
Of course, of course. Thank you for joining us. Sister Ebony, did you have any closing remarks?
Yes, ma'am. Just want to thank you once again for the opportunity to share these life-giving teachings. that is from the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And one thing that the takeaway that I got of what Coach King said and who moved, that's going to be my theme. I don't know for how long, but most importantly, the relationship with Almighty God Allah is the foundation. So strive hard to make that foundation and make that connection. Because when you said earlier, Allah is the only reality, He's only the reality if we know that He's real. He's real. He's present. And that relationship that you have, you will lay down and go get back up by the permissive will of Allah. So how is your relationship? That's the question. Ooh. That is the ultimate goal. And once we have that relationship, when we constantly work on that relationship to Almighty God Allah, all our other relationships should be the foundation of it. And we will have good life. We will have the promise, and we will go through the trials as Allah sees fit. So thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Oh my God, so beautiful. So
and I'm on my way to study group.
I know that's right.
I know y'all see me in the car, but I'm on my way. I'm late, but I'm on my way.
Listen, we gonna get there, right? Listen, hey, y'all share this video. Y'all share this show. I already got a clip that I'm already gonna take out right now. Like, hey, I'm just so fired up. But I just want to thank you all for joining us. Thank you guys for joining me. It's always a pleasure to be around my brothers and sisters in the field, so I'm grateful. And I pray you guys have a great rest of your evening. I love you all who join us. Please continue to connect, continue to subscribe. Hey, I need y'all to go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Okay, I'm almost to 1,000. Okay, I need y'all to go ahead and subscribe.
Hey.
Almost there. So go ahead and support your girl. Go ahead and share my content. And go ahead and support Coach King. He got a lot going on. My brother will be on the show next week. Next week, Thursday, he'll be on the show. We'll be talking about what to do after graduation. A lot of self-improvement things. My sister Ebony, she joins us on our Healing Circles calls every first of the month. She dives in deep on the topic of eat to live. That's definitely something when it comes to healing, right? So y'all make sure y'all dive in, continue to support each other, right? And I love you all, and we leave you all as we came. Assalamu alaikum. Peace, healing, and light.
Alaikum salam.
Welcome to Healing with Angelica.
Thank you.